Rocky Mountain Race Week is right around the corner. It's time to get serious with the Typhoon. It is time to install our race standalone setup. Stick around. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the garage, and today we're going to review the standalone that we're going to install in the Typhoon for Rocky Mountain Race Week. The days are ticking by very quickly, and honestly, normally I would go through and do a full harness build out, stuff like that. I think I'm going to take the easy way out, clip connectors off on the factory harness, and wire in the new harness for the standalone. So some of you are probably wondering which standalone that we decide to go with. We've been running the Mega Squirt plug and play unit on there. Perfectly fine. It's really good for driving around. Drivability has been great on things like that. But we're going to go next level. We need next level tunability. We need next level control, next level data, all that stuff. And that means we're not going with Holley. And some of you might be saying, why? Why would you go with Holley? Yada, 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 yada. Well, let me tell you, there's a couple main reasons. Specifically, the first one that comes to mind is the fact that I don't like the lack of flexibility in the Holley. We're running the EFI on the Nova, and it's perfectly fine on that thing. It's naturally aspirated. There's not a whole lot going on there other than fuel spark control. But you start getting into auxiliary stuff like that, and unless it falls within the boundaries of something that they already want you to do, it's near impossible to really figure it out. There's not much that you can do on the custom table side, stuff like that. I'm just not the biggest fan of the Holley standalones. That's not to say that the one that we've chosen today is going to be any better. I have a sneaking suspicion that it will be. You'll know as soon as I show you what we're going to be working with, because this platform is used on a lot of very high horsepower cars. Now that brings me to the second reason why I'm not doing a Holley. There's absolutely no support. There's like one guy, Danny, on the forums that seems to know some of the answers out there. If you call Holley up for support, they literally will read to you out of the manual. What's the point of having a support line if that's all they're going to do? We can read the manual. We need answers. I've called multiple times asking answers about specific things when it comes to ignition drivers and things like that in the past. It's just kind of pointless. Some of the other things that I don't like about the Holley is that you cannot configure cam and crank sensors outside of the default ones that they have in there. So you can't set custom cam and crank sensors on there. And 99% of the time, that's going to be perfectly fine. But every once in a while, you're going to run into an oddball out there, and you're not going to get the full support of the platform that you really need. And so we're going with something a little bit different, something new to the garage. We're going to be doing a new platform. I think you guys will be excited because the price point is right in line with the Holley. Everybody thinks that these things are expensive. They're really not. Whenever you come down to it, you spend a little bit more money, but we're not talking Motec level of money. So let's jump over to the table. Let's take a look at our new standalone setup and talk about why we went with what we went with. A lot of you have been asking for this for a long time. We are going with a Fuel Tech setup on the Typhoon. I'm super excited about it. We've got a couple of different things here that we're going to go over. I haven't opened any of this up yet. I wanted to share the excitement with you guys. And our setup, we went with basically the 550 Lite. And the reason behind that is I'm not a big fan of the gauges, things like that, or the displays. And so I love this thing. It is just compact. We've got a built-in map sensor that's good to 7 bar, which we will never touch, obviously. The nice weather-tight connections on here. And by having the display, not having the display on here, we don't have to worry about where we're going to mount it in the Typhoon. So that's one of the main reasons I went with the 550. Hindsight, may have been better to go ahead and step up to the 650 for the extra I/O, because we are going to be running our 4L60 that Performa built made for us off this. That's, I don't know if it's really talked about a lot, but the 4-speeds, the 4L60s, the 4L80s, things like that, you can control them. They have a transmission control configuration that you can load up in these and actually do transmission control. So we'll be doing our transmission control through this. We'll be doing our, we're going full sequential. We're adding a crank sensor and a cam sensor. We're going coil near plug. We're doing the works. And so along with that, we went ahead and got the flying lead harnesses for the 550 light, 550 light. The nice thing about it is you can start off with the smallest 400 or a 450 or a 350. I don't know if you'll take that well, but you can start off with the smallest one, and it may start off with this harness. Then as you go up to a 550, you add this harness, etc., etc. So upgradability is super easy on these. All the pinouts are going to be the same as far as that goes. So that's the nice thing about it. On top of the 550 light, we went ahead and picked up our VR to Hall conversion. Fuel Tech sells it super easy, super cheap. I was ordering the other parts in the process, so I just went ahead and grabbed this. And this is to make sure that our signal coming from the transmission can be read by the 550. And then to free up some I/O, because we're using quite a bit extra for the transmission, and we're running a IAC valve, which takes 4 wires. If you're running drive-by-wire, you know, is probably less because you don't need throttle position, IAC, all that stuff. All that kind of ties together, and it'll open up a couple inputs there. But because of that, we are going to be running the peak and hold injector controller. Let me open this thing up. And this is the Peak and Hold Pro. There's a reason that I spent the extra money for the Peak and Hold Pro, and that is because of the fact that the other ones, the customizing on it's a little bit different. This one communicates over CAN bus to the FT550 and will run normal injectors. High, low impedance, doesn't matter. This covers the complete broad spectrum of basically all the injectors that you're going to want to run. And this will allow us to run our normal snake eater injectors that we're putting in this thing. And it's a nice compact box that mounts up with its own harness. We can mount this in the engine bay, have a shorter run to our fuel injector harness over there, and then we just run CAN bus back to wherever our 550 is. Simple, easy, and this thing's like 500 bucks. So the additional 500 bucks to make life easier and free up 8 outputs on our controller, well worth it, because we're going to need the extra outputs. You know me, never to leave a boosted vehicle without water methanol injection. Snow Performance is going to be sending us over a water methanol injection kit, and we will probably look at just tying it in and controlling it with the FT550. And in that case, instead of actually getting a kit, I will probably go ahead and just order the pump, the solenoid, and things like that. I'm thinking about running the pumpless kit itself though, and just using a nitrous bottle to pressure it up. It has a regulator on it, and then you just use regulated pressure that way. So stick around, still trying to decide on that. But yes, we will be adding water methanol on this. Mainly because, hey, I love water methanol. I think it's one of the greatest things to ever come out for boosted applications. And go check out some of my other snow performance videos over there, or go to nitrousexpress.com, look at their kits. I can't commend them enough. Love Snow Performance, and so happy to always be working with them. I'm actually wearing one of my Snow Performance hoodies today. That's just pure coincidence. I wear these things all the time. But just being able to bring down the IAT temperatures, because we're not going to be able to get around to do a lot of the intercooler upgrades that I've been wanting to do on the Typhoon. We're just not going to have the time. We're installing a bigger turbo. We're installing a downpipe back exhaust on the thing. We're doing all this other work as far as I'm going to have to pull the front cover off and install all these additional parts, then swap the transmission over to our new built unit. And so there's so much to do that I have to draw the line somewhere on how much we're going to do on this project, because it has to be ready by June. And sounds like a long ways away, but you know as well as I do, it's not that far away until, suddenly you're 2 weeks out and you still have half the car apart. So, as I said, keep posted. I will do some videos on how I end up doing the harnesses. As I said, my big thing is I'm just going to use the connectors for now. I'll probably leave them a little bit long, the harnesses side a little bit long, so I can come in at a later date and put new connectors and things like that on there. But I just don't have the time right now to make a list of all the connectors that we need to buy to put on the car. Hope that they all show up in time, whereas this way, short of just getting the coil connectors for the 6LS coils that we're going to be running on this, I'm just going to be able to use all the factory stuff. And we'll also talk about the wiring side of things, and I'll give you some tips and tricks that'll help you get through how to wire up a standalone on a new system like this where there's not a lot of data. There's some guys out there doing Holley installs on these things. I don't know how prevalent the data is. But I'll give you some tips and tricks using some of the old wiring diagrams and stuff like that, where we can figure out which circuits we need to tie back into it, like the AC circuit, to make sure the air conditioning works, because we're going to need air conditioning. After last year, you know, we almost sweat to death. And any of the other auxiliary systems like that we have, because we're hooking up electric fans. As I said, we're hooking up the transmission. There's a lot of work to get done in a short time. But I wanted to go ahead and give you a quick overview of the platform that we are going to be installing on the Typhoon. You got any questions, as always, hit up the comments down below. Make sure to like, subscribe if you haven't already. Free tuning information, who doesn't love it? And, you know, check out the Patreon if you need some tuning assistance. That's what it's there for. You can go to our website, goatropegarage.com, to learn more. I'm going to get back to it. I've got so much to do. I've got to start somewhere. You guys know the drill. Thanks for stopping by the garage. Remember, ABT, always be tuning.